All right, everyone. So, once again, no one showed up to the Zoom meeting. If you're having trouble with the Zoom meeting or anything like that, go ahead and email me at giving away my secrets. Go back. At srenard at muhs.com. Okay. So if you ever need anything from me, go ahead and email me that, and I'll help you out. So, we're going to be doing these Zoom classes every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock. I will be recording them. I will then be posting the video to YouTube and linking that in the Google Classroom. So make sure you're signed up to the Google Classroom, which currently I think like 2 of you guys are. So, yeah. Anyway, okay. So Similarity review number 2. We're going to finish this up and then move on. So, Similarity number 2. So here we have that the polygons in each pair are similar. So we don't have to worry about whether or not they're similar. We know they're similar. So all we have to do is find the scale factor of the smaller figure to the larger figure. That means the number of that when we give a ratio. So let's say the ratio is 1 to 2. Okay, so one was twice as big as the other one. If we want smaller to bigger, we go 1 to 2. If we want bigger to smaller, we go 2 to 1. So, unlike the ones we did earlier, I amped up the difficulty on these ones a little bit. And how I did that, it's not a big one. How I did that was simply by not aligning the orientation of the figures. So they're pointing different ways. So you need to sometimes flip them around in your mind to see whether or not they are, in fact, not in this case are, but to see where the similar ones line up to. And this is how you do that. So for number 1, that 12 lines up with a 15. Because I know that this piece right here and this piece right here would have to be similar. I know that this is the bottom and this is the bottom. So basically you have to take that, flip it over, and then move it. So 12 to 15 has to be the same, or 24 to 30. So the scale factor here is identical. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. I'm going to do both just to show you that it really doesn't matter and that you'll get the same answer regardless. So 12 is the same thing as 3 times 4. 15 is 3 times 5. Notice the 3's cancel out, so we end up with 4/5, and that would be the scale factor. Notice if I had picked 24 over 30, 6 times 4 over 6 times 5 gives me 4/5. Again, so the scale factor is 4 to 5. Done. Number 2, 18 to 30. Even though that 20 would have a corresponding number up top, we don't have it, so we can't use that in order to figure out what exactly the scale factor is. So we go 18 over 30, 2 times 9, 2 times 15. So it gives us 9 over 15. Well, I know 9 is 3 times 3, and 15 is 3 times 5. So I end up with 3/5. Some of these are trickier, like this one right here, number 6. You have to flip it over and shift it because this side and this side are the same. So your ratio is going to be 24 or 16 to 24, which turns into 2 to 3. not sure what's going on here. But 2 to 3 is the answer there. Okay. So, number 11, here we have to figure out whether or not they are similar. So we don't have that presupposition of similarity that we had before. So what we have to do is figure out whether they're similar. So what do we know about similarity? We know that similarity requires that all of the interior angles be the same and the sides are proportional. So when we look at these two figures here in 11, we see that we have two parallelograms. Okay? It's a quadrilateral with parallel sides, two sets of parallel sides, definition of a parallelogram. What do we know about parallelograms? Well, we know that the consecutive opposite angles are equal, and consecutive angles are supplementary, which means they add up to 180 degrees. So for number 11, we go 180 minus 80, and that's going to give us, or 180 minus 100, and that gives us 80. And so we can just kind of sketch in the four angles there. We then can go down to the second part and go, okay, well, if that's 75, then that's got to be 105. So because we have differing angles here, they're not similar. For number 12, the angles check. We have two, so this is a trapezoid. So what we need to figure out is whether or not the sides are all proportional. Now, what we need to do here, we can't just do one side and say that's a scale factor. What we need to do is we need to check all the sides. So we set up an extended proportion. We go 14.5 to 17.4 has to equal 24 to 20, which has to equal 30 to 36. It's actually 20 to 24. Make sure you keep which side is which correct. So then what we're going to do is we're going to reduce all those. And now if they were all reduced to the same thing, then we have corresponding angles, and we have not corresponding, but we have congruent angles, and we have proportionate sides. So 20 over 24 reduces to 5 over 6. 30 over 36 reduces to 5 over 6. So that's 2 out of 3. So what we want to do here on this third one, so I can do one of two things. I can put 5 divided by 6 into a calculator. I can then see if what that answer is, and then I can do 14.5 divided by 17.4. If I get the same answer as 5 over 6 there, I know that they're proportional, and therefore similar. Or I can sit there and go, okay, so I can divide the top by 5 and the bottom by 6. And if I get the same thing, then it is. Now here, the top, 14.5, I'm going to divide by 5, and I get 5 times 2.9. The bottom, I get 17.4, divide that by 6, and I get 2.9. So when I cancel out those 2.9s, lo and behold, I get 5/6. So yes, that is proportional. Make sure you line them. Okay, so this next part, we're told that they're proportional. And what we need to do is figure out the missing side. So again, you need to make sure that you're matching up. I've got a cat in heat, unfortunately, so if you hear, her name's Salem, poor baby. So she's miserable right now. So anyway, so we have the 7 and the 21, because we know that this corner right here and this corner right there match up. So we have to take this one and flip it all the way up to there. And that matches up the 7 and the 21. And that matches up the 8 and the question mark. So we go, okay, the ratio of 7 to 21 has to be the same as 8 to the question mark. Now, there is nothing wrong here if I decide to cross multiply at this point. I could sit there and go 8 times 21 is 168. 168 divided by 7 is, and that would give me the answer. But I'm going to actually reduce 7 over 21 to 1/3. That gives me 1/3 equals 8 over question mark. Cross multiply there, and I get 24 equals question mark. See? 17. Again, I want to match up the right ones. So I have to flip the 9 and the 3. So the 9 and the 3 match up, which means the 12 and the question mark match up. So this would be 3 over 9 equals question mark over 12. Now here, I'm not going to simplify first. So what I'm going to do is I am simply going to cross multiply. So I get 3 times 12 equals 36. And that gives me 9 times the question mark. I would then divide both sides by 9. And I get the question mark equals 4. These last grouping are solve for x. So you're basically doing the same thing you did in the previous ones, except you are having then to solve for x. So you're not solving for the side necessarily, you're solving for the variable. So here what we're going to do is we have 12 over 15 equals 32 over 4x plus 12. Okay. Now, if we're doing this right, we should, so then, again, we could cross multiply right here. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So if we cross multiply right here and use a calculator, it's going to give me the right answer. The numbers are just going to be really big. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 12 over 15, and I'm going to reduce that to 4/5. I pull a 3 out of each one. I then look over and I see 32, 4x, and 12. I can pull 4 out of all of those. So that's 8 over x plus 3. Then I cross multiply. So 8 times 5 is 40. And I go 4 times x plus 3. So we get 4x plus 12 equals 40. So what I'm going to do from there is subtract 12 from both sides. So I get 4x equals 28. Divide both sides by 4, and I get x equals 7. Here, my 6 and my 12 match up, because what I need to do is rotate it about 90 degrees counterclockwise. Actually, that would be, counterclockwise. And then the x and the 1 match up to the 16. So my ratio here, or my proportion rather, is the ratio of 6 to 12 has to equal the ratio of x minus 1 to 16. 6 to 12 reduces to 1/2. And I have x minus 1 equals 16. Oh, and it stopped. Okay. Well, I still know how to do this. So, going live, guys. X minus 1 over 16. So when I cross multiply here, I end up with 1 times 16, I'm over on the left-hand side now, equals 2 times x minus 1. 1 times 16 is 16. Distribute the 2. 2x minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I get 18 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. I get x equals 9. So what I'd like you guys to do is try and finish the rest of this up by your lonesomes, using what we just did as a guide, and then show up next Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. At my Zoom, I'll resend the invitation to each and every one of you. And ask me any questions you may have. I'd love to see all of your guys' faces. It's, Zoom. You can use it as an app, or you can use it as just go on the computer and use the website. When you see the invitation that I send you, it's going to be in your school email. When you get that invitation, all you have to do to log in is at 10 o'clock, go to that Evite, click on the invitation, and it'll load you directly up. I hope to see some, if not all of you guys there. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy your spring holiday.